There's a stage in the awakening process that is much like being in limbo. Let's call it the limbo stage of the awakening, which I think it's probably famously known as on YouTube. So the limbo stage of the awakening is that stage from in between the old life and the new life. That stage where you're making big changes in your life and life is forcing you to change in some ways. We're going to talk about this today and hopefully put your mind at ease if you're in this limbo stage of the awakening, so by all means, stick around. I think people get really scared in the limbo stage of the awakening because it's very uncertain, isn't it? I know this in my journey. Usually you're going through the dark night of the soul and you're on your own, and life has put you on your own in isolation so that you become strong and less dependent on others for things. And actually, if we look at the state of the world right now, it's exactly what's happening to the whole world if we see it from the awakening perspective. A mass awakening in some ways and in some is happening. So, the limbo stage of the awakening. We know in our minds, in our hearts, that we have this desire, this yearning for a new life. The reason we had the dark night of the soul was because of this unconscious yearning, inside of us, that we want to change, because the way that we are living from the ego, that negative one in the mind, living out our life on that plane, is hurting us, and it becomes very difficult to continue that way once we get a bit of separation between us and the mind, or that negative ego rhetoric that keeps playing on constant loop in the mind. Most of it the same stuff, just different day. So once we begin to realise that we want a new life, that unconscious yearning begins, doesn't it? Although we might call it a conscious yearning maybe. That conscious yearning, that inner feeling begins as we begin to become, I suppose, crystallised and solidified in a new idea of what our future might be. For example, I was in the dark night of the soul, very sad, very lonely, very upset, and very lost, very confused, because I couldn't see the trees through the fog, and I just was alone and scared and didn't know what was happening. But even in that there was hope, because I knew in some way, shape or form, that I was being guided so that I would end up in some way, shape or form teaching in the way that I do. I'm now a yoga teacher. I now teach a lot of clients one-to-one online as well, people that have been through Kundalini awakening experiences, or people that haven't necessarily been through a very abrupt awakening experience but know that they're changing inside, know that the old way of living through the mind isn't working for them anymore. And if you wish, then down below to sign up with some coaching with me, there's the one-to-one coaching you can apply for free. I can't promise you a space because I can't work with everyone, but I promise that I'll read the application as well. Down below there are some really cool, brand new for me this, affordable group coaching calls in which I will give you the same stuff as the one-to-one coaching pretty much, but in a group setting. It makes it cheaper than the one-to-one coaching. It just depends which you prefer. Do you prefer to be in a group or do you prefer to keep it private? It's up to you. Nonetheless, they're down below, and right now for the next 24 hours, I think that's all you've got left on it, there's a super early bird offer. The price will never be the same again. You can access that down below. Also though, down below, because I do like to offer and serve everyone of every price range with every budget, there is free stuff. So there's a free breathing practice down below just to whet the appetite. It will bring some awareness, some clarity. It will drop your anxiety or drop the fear in these moments that the whole collective is feeling right now around the events that are happening. And also there's a free community. If you're going through an awakening experience and you don't have anybody to talk to, which is likely the way it is, especially as you go through the dark night of the soul, then down below you can access it there. There's some beautiful people in there. You're very lucky because the group is great. Okay, back to the video. The limbo phase of awakening. When we're in that darkness, we're scared, we don't know the future, but there is a bright light, and that bright light is our vision. There's this feeling you have inside, right? You know You know that there's a new, better life out there. And people get scared in the limbo phase because they're like, well, I'm stuck in between two places now. I can't go back to the old way of life because it doesn't satiate me anymore. It doesn't fill me up inside. And I also know too much, so I definitely can't go back that way. But I'm now too curious, so I have to keep going this way. But this goal, this new life that I want, isn't quite here yet. And this can be the most frustrating stage. Let me change that. This is the most frustrating stage. I know this is my experience because I've been through it myself. And we often think, and there are a few misconceptions here, we often think that life is punishing us. Why is this taking so long? I'm here doing my best, what's going on? And we often think sometimes that perhaps like we're making mistakes or we're doing something wrong. Like, am I getting this all wrong? I feel totally separate from my old life, and I still feel totally separate to my new life, and I feel totally separated in this now moment because there's so much frustration around me. Like, when is this going to end? Is usually what comes up, you know. And there's no ending, and thank God there's no ending, because we're always learning in many, many beautiful ways. But this is the crux of it. The limbo stage is not done on a time thing. Like I said, it's not a punishment. Life's not sitting you down and saying, right, the time has started, I'll wait. God's not in heaven, like waiting with his watch. Right, beep, go. You have this amount of time just to sit it out. No. Life isn't like that. Life is about learning and remembering our true nature. So as we remember our true nature as the true self, the big self, rather than the little self in the mind, we begin to increase our vibration. I'm just going to use these terminologies. I know that not everybody likes them, but what do I mean by increase our vibration? Well, we increase the closeness to that big self. No, these are the wrong words to use. See, language gets difficult, doesn't it, when we're trying to describe these things? Let's go again. Take two. The big self, the witness inside of ourself. The more we come in communion with that, the higher our vibration increases, meaning the better we feel, because we see, yes, this one in the mind that's stirring up all of this bloody trouble isn't me. That's what I mean by our vibration increasing, distancing from that sense of mini self, the ego in the mind, and increasing our awareness as the larger self, the witness to all of these phenomenal things in this phenomenal existence, though the witness is in phenomenal. Hopefully you're still with me and I'm not losing you there. So as our vibration increases, we can then make an effect on other people in a big way because we see life so clearly in us. So this is how we get out of the limbo stage. It's not done on a time, it's done on an increase of vibration. Now if you want to increase your vibration in the fastest possible way, you must do sadhana. Sadhana means your daily spiritual practice to bring about the highest aliveness of energy and the highest intensity of feeling, the highest vibration in your system possible. And again, they're down below should you wish to access them. Even the free breathing practice will do a lot of work, you know. So you must do sadhana to increase your vibration. But it's not a time thing. It's done on a lesson thing. You're in the limbo stage of awakening because you must learn the lessons. What do I mean by the lessons? Well, you know those things that you keep attracting. These certain circumstances that you don't necessarily prefer, that you keep attracting over and over and over again. Form looks different, but underneath, subtly, it's the same old thing. These are the lessons. So let's say we flip out at someone and get agitated or angry and react rather than respond to somebody. Well, if this keeps happening to us, we keep getting angered by other people. Oh, then there's a lesson for us in that, right? Something inside of us is getting angry. Well, let me see how I can respond differently the next time. Once you how do you know you've changed? How do you know that you've learnt the lesson? Well, the next time this thing comes up to you that would usually anger you, you respond differently. The change of behaviour is a notification to you that you have changed. Spiritually, yes, and you get the spiritual result, which is an increase in awareness and a good feeling state and a relaxation. Is that a word? Yes, let's say it is, of the nervous system. This is how we know we've we've learnt the lesson that we needed to learn, and that's because the behaviour has changed. And you'll know, the deeper you go into this, the more lessons we become conscious of. Yes, this is why I'm attracting that certain person. I see why you're in my life. I see why this emotion keeps coming. That mind keeps doing that thing. Maybe I should respect myself more. Once we've learned these lessons, and we have less lessons left to learn, not like that's really the way it is, because we're always learning, always learning. But when we've learned enough lessons so that we're clear enough in ourselves and we have a high enough vibration to be able to impact truly and deeply other people and create change in them, then the new life will come, and it will likely come in some form of teaching capacity or teaching capacity, perhaps, if you're that way inclined. But it might end up being that you become a crystal salesman. Not what I'd like to do, but it's somebody's passion, right? Whatever your passion is, that's what you end up doing to the best of your ability. But you have to learn the lessons to have the right vibration to attract that passion into your life. The true passion that you have, not just an ego-based passion. I want to be a footballer. Oh, don't we all? But would it be your passion? Could you get up every morning and do that much physical exercise? For me, no. Therefore, it's not my passion. My passion is teaching, and life has made me learn lessons in the limbo phase of awakening so that I can teach to the best of my ability. Really, these lessons are teaching you to be more incarnate, more the version of your higher self incarnate. And how do we reveal the higher self? Well, we let go of the little self. And how do we let go of the little self? We encounter experiences in the limbo phase through which we get to garner information about which lessons we should be learning through our interactions with these people. When we learn the lesson, and we know we've learnt the lesson when our behaviour changes, then we get the life we want. Does this help? Does this make sense? I'm talking to myself. Let me know in the comments, and I hope this helps, and have a lovely, lovely evening.